Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. I did not do the live video yesterday, and as you can tell, I'm still not put together today, but I wanted to go ahead and get it done this morning and share because I'm kind of glad that I didn't do it yesterday. Yesterday, I was serving and attending the funeral of a 13-year-old. And if you've been following my stories or if you've been in here for a minute, you saw me asking for prayers. A week and a half ago, he tragically drowned in the Yellowstone River. And so it's been heavy on our community. And the reason that it's been heavy is because of the impact that he made. So yesterday at his funeral, I went to serve food, and there were somewhere between 600 to 800 people there. There were a ton of people there, like so many we had to bring out extra chairs. And it was an outpouring of community support and love. It was incredible. It was the most amazing thing. But what happened that really just shocked me was when they were reading his journal. So yesterday, everyone got up there and spoke, and they did, typical funeral proceedings, but then they did something different. Our preacher pulled out excerpts from Ira's journal. He was 13. He would have been 14 next month on the 20th, I believe. And some of the things that he wrote were profoundly wise. Just talking about walking in the Spirit and living your truest calling is just a matter of sharing the things that God gives you, those testimonies, the hard times, the things that God gives you to other people, allowing other people to walk the journey with you, being a light to others who are walking in darkness, always sharing and being unafraid and unapologetic of sharing what God's put on your heart, and really letting the Holy Spirit have a place and a residence inside of you. And I just thought, wow, at 13 years old, he knew this. And he was actually 12 when he was writing this, because his journal had, recordings from 2 years. And it was just mind-blowing to me, the incredible amount of wisdom that a 12-year-old has spiritually. Like spiritually, he knew where he was called. He was living a life of service. He was diving into the deeper things that we are called to as believers, which is living a life that is unapologetic of sharing the message of Christ. Not being afraid that someone's going to be offended by the message, but still loving them anyway. Because we know not everyone is a believer. Not everyone gets into heaven. And that was something that our preacher said yesterday. He said, not everyone's going to get into heaven, because some people are going to hear the message and they're going to turn around. They're going to walk the other way. They're going to scoff at you for, believing the way that you do. And that's happened to me many times. I've had people who are like, I can't understand how you can believe in these things when science proves otherwise, but God trumps science. So that's a whole other conversation, but Community is what I experienced yesterday. Community and fellowship, the things that God created us for from the time that we were formed. He created us for community. He created us for fellowship. And I think that's why this pandemic has been so hard for people, because there seems to be a lack of community. All the things that we're experiencing in our world, the breakdown, the hardships, everything. There is a lack of community. There's a lack of fellowship. There is a lack of that spiritual connection between people that drives them beyond physical circumstances. That's what we were created for. This morning's post talking about community was specifically designed so that you can see community is a blessing. Walking together in life with other people is a blessing, and it's hard. As I get older, my friendships get fewer and fewer because I'm protective of the people that are in my circle. I don't like to be vulnerable with everyone. I'm pretty vulnerable, most people would say, especially on social media, but I don't like to be vulnerable with everyone. I don't like to let people into the things that are going on, because what if I'm not their cup of tea? What if I'm not their person? What if I'm opening myself up to rejection? And that's that in the book. It's talking about how the same place in your mind that allows you to experience physical pain is the same place that triggers whenever you experience emotional trauma or emotional pain. They say that's why breakups are hard and, friendships breaking up is hard, is because it's the same kind of trigger that you're having when you are in physical pain. And so it's hard to invest in other people, because I always think, well, what if I'm the one putting myself out there and then I get shut down or I get rejected? I have a huge fear of rejection. I do and I don't. I don't fear rejection when it comes to certain things, but I fear rejection on the spiritual level. I have never, I don't think in my life, ever been so afraid of God turning away from me than the season that I walked through miscarriage and the season following that. I was so afraid to just be raw and real until I was to the point that I was just exhausted. And I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I can't pretend to be strong. I can't pretend that I have it together. I need you to just sit here with me and show me that you are who you are. And I was telling someone else this morning, I've never felt such a deep connection in my faith than in that season. It was by far one of the hardest seasons that I have ever been through. And if you've experienced a loss like that, then I'm sure that you can understand it's mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually draining. And it's a draining to put yourself back out there and to be happy for other people who are getting the things that you've prayed for. And you're like, why not me? Why not me, God? Why not me? Why did you choose her over me? Why does she get what I want and what I've worked for? There's a lot of those things. But I also shared this morning that suffering is, as Christians, we know we're going to suffer. It's in the Bible. It's written all over the Bible. God never promises that walking in faith is going to be easy. We are refined by fire. We are refined in our sufferings. But I've had this conversation several times, and people are like, how do you handle these things? Because suffering is about me. When I am suffering, it's about me. It's me focused. It's me centered. It's all about me. When I'm dealing with that internal suffering from fear, from stress, overwhelm, those kind of things, that's a focus on me. Yesterday, when I was sitting in the service and I was crying and I was, just really emotionally distraught. That was about me. That wasn't about anyone else. That was about what I was experiencing. And it's the same with fear. It's what I'm experiencing, what I think is going to happen, what I perceive is happening in my world. It's about me. It's me focused. Whereas when we turn that outwardly and we go from suffering to walking in grace, that suffering that we're taking on the inside becomes an outpouring of service. This is how community is built. When you take a struggle, a stressor, a fear, and you pour it out into other people, and you say, this is what I am walking through. This is how I'm walking through it. You make it a teachable moment. You make it an opportunity to walk in grace, to share your story, to serve someone else with the pain that you've been through. That is how God uses us. That's how he uses our suffering. That's how he takes and makes beauty from ashes. That's how these things come about. I don't know. I don't feel like I'm necessarily a natural teacher, but I feel like that is one thing that I have learned about exercising faith and putting it into motion. That's how I put my faith into action, is I take the things that I have a really hard time with and I ask for grace as I walk through it. And then I use it as a teachable moment and I teach it to other people. And I say, here is what I was handed. These are the things that I'm doing to get through it. This is what God's showing me as I'm walking through it. That builds community, because it's no longer you focused. It's focused on taking that pain and serving someone else. And it's not instantaneous. This is not an instantaneous thing. I don't do it as I'm walking through pain most of the time, unless I just have like this revelation. But it is something that I really challenge myself on. I really have learned to challenge myself. If I'm going through this, God, what are you trying to do through me? What are you trying to pull out of me? What is it that you need me to see here? What is it that I'm being blinded to because of my humanness? Show it to me. Make it evident. Make me so aware of it that it's just like, I can't miss it. That's how community is built. It's built based on taking those hard things and locking arms together and surrounding yourself with more people who are looking for that kind of connection, but who are also taking the gifts and their talents and they're giving it to other people and they're building things around that. One of the other things I read this morning, I'm an avid reader. If you guys don't know this, I read a lot of things. I don't guess I have the book up here somewhere, so I'm probably not going to quote this right, but one of the things that I was reading this morning was talking about, oh no, it was in this book. Hold on, I'll find it. See, I read so many things, I don't even actually know what I'm reading. But it was good. Oh, okay, so now I remember it, I'm brain fart. But it was talking about walking in a relationship. And one of the hardest things to do as you walk in relationship is to let people in to the spaces of your life that you keep secret for yourself, or you keep, like roadblocked off for certain times. I'm a compartmentalizer. I compartmentalize a lot of different things in order to be able to function. I don't know why I do that. It's not a good thing, but it allows me to move through harder seasons a little bit differently. Again, I don't encourage that. But she was talking about whenever you are walking in relationship, one of the things that you have to be so willing to do is give what you want so then you can receive what you need. My biggest fear of putting myself out there is putting myself out there and then it not being reciprocated. I'm doing all of the work, I'm spending all of the time, I'm working on all of this growth, and I'm working to serve other people. And it's not being recognized, and it's not being noticed, and it's not even like in a notice like I want people to know me, but by the person that I'm trying to put myself out there to, I'm being ignored. I'm being used basically just as a sounding board, and there's never, it's like I'm pouring and pouring and pouring and pouring, but there's no pouring back. And one of the things that she said was, give what you want and you'll get what you need. I don't know how long that takes. And I've seen this in a lot of friendships that I have had over the last couple of years, is I'm giving and I'm giving and I'm giving, but maybe I'm giving to the wrong people. Maybe I'm spending time with the wrong people, building myself up around the wrong people. It's about choosing healthy relationships. This is not just for anyone. This is about choosing healthy relationships, building healthy relationships with women who are on the same path that you are, who are looking to do the things that you're looking to do, who are looking to grow and to share and to expand the way that you are. It's not for everyone. This is not an intimate relationship with everyone. You can't build those relationships with everyone, but a few choice people in your life, you will. You will build that community, you will build that love, you will build that support, and you will build it with them and for them and alongside them, and you will do it together. And those are the kind of friendships that stick. I can think of one specifically, Lacey Watson. She's in this group. She has been my person for the last 4 years. I don't know. We've walked through a lot of really hard things together. We've walked through very transitional seasons of life together. And it doesn't matter if I haven't talked to her in 2 weeks or I talked to her 2 minutes ago. It seems the same. We share the highs, we share the lows, we share everything in between. She is the person that has walked with me through things and allowed me to walk with her through things and been vulnerable and open and really allowed me to see what community looks like and what it feels like. And so I wanted to read this morning. Where did it go? Okay. I have so many things and highlighted it here. Sorry, it's taking me a second. Where is it? Okay, so I guess I'm gonna start here. Sorry, guys. Okay, it's on page 126 if you're in your actual book. It's called The Power of Awe. Cynicism has become esteemed in our culture as if we've concluded that cynics know something the rest of us don't. Cynicism is the thing I feel like puts a roadblock up to community. And I feel like our world is very cynical. And I am not a cynical person. And so I'm always worried about whether or not I'm going to be taken advantage of. Does that make sense? So this is called transforming the power of awe, or the transforming power of awe. Cynicism has become esteemed in our culture as if we've concluded that cynics know something that the rest of us don't. They are prepared and guarded and aware at every level that the rest of us are too flighty to grasp. But at its core, cynicism isn't so wonderful. In fact, it's not so wonderful at all. Cynicism is always driven by fear of the future or by anger regarding the past. Either we're afraid of something that might not ever occur, or we project something that has occurred onto all the days that are to come. We buy into the lie that it's too risky to be vulnerable or hope for good things. Brene Brown calls this foreboding joy. Scarcity and fear drive foreboding joy, she wrote in her book, Daring Greatly. We're afraid of the feeling of joy. We're afraid the feeling of joy won't last, or that there won't be enough, or that the transition to disappointment will be too difficult. We've learned that giving in to joy at best, setting ourselves up for disappointment, and at worst, inviting disaster. The enemy's strategy to flood our thoughts with visions of all that is wrong in this broken, fallen world, to the point that we don't even think to look for the positive anymore. Cynicism just becomes the way that we think, and we don't even notice. Here are some questions to ask yourself to see whether cynicism has invaded your headspace. Do you get annoyed when people are optimistic? When someone is nice to you, do you wonder what that person wants? Do you constantly feel misunderstood? When things are going well, are you waiting for the bottom to fall out? Yep. Do you quickly notice people's flaws? Do you worry about getting taken advantage of? I just said that literally. Are you guarded when you meet someone new? Do you wonder why people just can't get it together? I also have that one. Are you often sarcastic? Cynicism is destroying our ability to delight in the world around us and fully engage with others. God has an abundance of joy and delight for us, and we're missing it with arms crossed. What if it was the other way? What if there was another way to live? When researchers study awe and beauty, they found an interesting connection. When we experience awe, we move towards others in beneficial ways. When we are overcome by the grandeur of a snowy mountain peak, or delighted by a beautiful song, when we sit silently in an old church and marvel at the way the sunlight seeps in through the stained glass windows, or when we're, hold on just a second. My old baby interruption, sorry. Cynicism says, I'm surrounded by incompetence, fraudsters, and disappointment. Delight in God and his goodness tears down our walls and allows us to hope, trust, and worship to flood in. I don't know, that hit me. Consider Paul's description of what happens when we, like the Israelites, turn our gaze from the things that fade and look to the eternal God. Whenever, though, they turn to face God, as Moses did, God removes the veil, and there they are, face to face. They suddenly recognize that God is a living personal presence, not a piece of chiseled stone. And when God is personally present, a living spirit, that old constricting legislation is recognized as obsolete. We're free of it, all of us, nothing between us and God. Our face is shining with the brightness of his face. And so we are transfigured, much like the Messiah, our lives gradually becoming brighter and more beautiful as God enters our lives and we become like him. Just as Moses' face shone when he descended from the mountains where God had allowed him to see glory, when God enters our lives, he works in us and makes our lives brighter and more beautiful. The lie, people are not trustworthy and life will not work out. The truth, God is trustworthy, and in the end, it will work out all things together for his good. We know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love him and who have been called according to his purpose. The result, I choose to delight in God and signs of his work in the world around me. And then it goes back to the diagram, which I'll post later. We have a choice. We have a choice. Cynicism, I can't say it enough. I feel like our world is so torn by cynicism right now. I feel like all of the things that we're dealing with is cynicism. We don't know who to trust. We don't know what to trust. We don't know what information is good. We don't know what people are for our good or just out there to shake us up and to make us see like faith is not a real thing. Faith is not something that you can hope in or believe in, or it's not tangible, it's not real, and it's not any of those things. That is true. It is true that faith is not any of those things. But if it were something tangible or something physical or visible, or we wouldn't believe it anyway. And I go back to the Old Testament where signs and wonders and miracles were being performed by prophets, by Jesus himself when he was walking the earth, and people still didn't believe it. The people in his town still did not recognize that he was the Messiah, and it was right there in plain sight. So how much more are we going to be cynical in a world where God still moves in people? He still does miracles, he still does things, but it's not an outward showing of those things. It's not, you pray and then fire comes down from heaven. I'm sure it could, but even if we saw that, there would be some way to rationalize it. Even if you have all of the information of what building community and friendships looks like, it's about what's in here. It's about whether or not you're willing to break down the walls and surrender. That's it right there, which allows God to come in because you trust that he is who he says he is, and he's going to do what he says he's going to do. And you choose the good over being cynical. You choose the possibility, the confident hope of a better future, even though what's going on in the world right now doesn't seem like it. You choose to surround yourself in community, even when other people have said it's not worth it. I didn't have a great experience with that. You can't borrow other people's experience to build your own. That's not how it works, because then it's a tainted view of what's possible. I teach this all the time. You have to have the experience for yourself, because once you do, it changes everything. You can borrow a little bit of my faith, but that's not going to get you to where you want to be. You can choose community to build your stamina in faith, but it's not going to persevere in hard times. That's where you have to dig in and decide for yourself. Am I going to choose to trust God, or am I going to choose to trust the world? Am I going to stay cynical, or am I going to choose the impossible and believe that because he is who he said he is, he's going to bridge all of the gaps and close all of the things and just make it possible? I feel like that message was like this, but I don't know. I really felt that that was kind of what someone else needed to hear today. Cynicism is the killer of community and fellowship and walking in faith. You cannot be of the world and be of God. You cannot be of the world and walk in faith. You can't. I just saw something else that said Jesus sat with sinners. He didn't sit down and sin with them. And that's a conviction part on my behalf. I'm really dealing with that this morning. But I don't know if any of that made sense. I never know if it makes sense, and I'm not going to go back and watch this and see if it makes any sense. But I hope that whatever came out of my mouth blessed you today. And I hope that it gave you the confident hope to walk in faith and to build community. Like, that should be our focus for the rest of this year, is working to actively build community and the people that we have around us, working to get out of cynicism, working to break down those walls of scarcity and limitations, and believe that God is who he says he is. He can do the things that he says he can do. But do you have the faith to believe that he will do it through you? And if you don't, I guarantee you're not saying yes when he calls. And delayed obedience is still disobedience. That one gets me every time too. I don't know. I just want to challenge you to move beyond your personal suffering and step outside of yourself and ask and pray and believe that God is using this season, whatever season, good, bad, weird, in between, to mold you. And he's wanting you to say yes. And he's giving you people that may not look like your kind of people to bless your life. If you're willing to lean in, if you're willing to dig in, if you're willing to not borrow other people's experience to build your own, if you're willing to trust that he has you in the right place at the right time for all of these things right now. So I love you. I hope you have a great morning. I will post this exact same video in the recap. So if you missed it, it's coming in your email. If you're still not getting emails, please let us know. because we want to make sure that you are being caught up on all the things, and they're saved. So if you missed email 1, 2, 3, 4, I don't know, I think we're on 4 now, just comment, hey, I didn't get email 1 or 2, and we will send those back out to you. So I hope you ladies have a wonderful day, and I will chat with you later. Bye, y'all.